Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we'll be talking about who will the San Antonio Spurs be drafting in this year's NBA draft. So before we start today's video, I want to hear right now, who do you guys believe that they will be drafting? They have the 12th pick in this year's draft. I believe that, look, the Spurs have one of the best international scouting staffs in the NBA. So they're familiar with the foreign prospects, even in this weird season of an interrupted scouting overseas. From a roster perspective, the team's bigs aren't particularly adept offensively. Jakob Poeltl could use more of an offensive-minded partner inside from a matchup perspective. And they would also like to have a guy who has high basketball IQ, good hands, finishing ability on the offensive end. And, it'll be good to find someone to pair up with Jakob Poeltl. But I think what else would be good is maybe somebody to replace our man DeMar DeRozan. Maybe to fully commit into what someone could say is the new look transition defense offense San Antonio that we have come to see. And that is Josh Gideon. Now, why did I say Gideon? Josh Giddey, the 6'8" wing from Adelaide, Australia. He's 18 years old and he just had a terrific season. He's not actually from Adelaide. He's actually New Zealand, but he played for the Adelaide Sixers. So Giddey had a terrific season in Australia, averaging 11.7 rebounds and 7 assists, leading the league in helpers and finishing 6 and rebounding as an 18-year-old. He needs to tighten up his handle a bit and keep improving as a shooter, but the skill set is there, and he has the ability to be a secondary playmaker at the next level due to how quickly he seems to have processed the game. Giddey should be a very high-level role player who starts with some upside for more if the jumper gets figured out. I think he'll become a good player quicker, and if the jumper takes longer to figure out, it'll be a year or two. So with Giddey, it would give the Spurs a bit more size, and I feel like make the backcourt even more unselfish. And with the other players in the draft, being more like at this region defensive players, which I think the Spurs have a lot of guys that they could go for someone defensive, and that's who I'll talk about later. But I think scoring and just playmaking ability is something they would really like. And Giddey's also a terrific rebounding, which they need. And he's a guy who gets out on the break and makes high level passing reads. He has a case as the most creative passer and playmaker in the draft. And imagine a perimeter group of, Derek White, DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, and you can even put out Jakob Poeltl if they go small ball. I don't even know who would be the small ball. In this case, would be Luka. Don't even know, but it would be really fun to see that core build around them and move forward with a lot of skill that will work well in conjunction with one another. Now, they could go. I have Alperen Sengun going, who just won the Turkish League MVP after putting up one of the most productive teenage seasons in recent European basketball history. And the numbers Sengun is putting up in Turkey are dominant and preposterous at the same time. He's finished third in the league, scoring, fourth in rebounding, second in block. And John Hollinger pointed out that Sengun's PER would be the highest of the decade, and his 30.3 PER leads the Turkish League. And from a scouting perspective, he can finish inside and has a great nose for the basket and a great feel for getting separation. His hands are elite, and the only problem comes on defense, where it seems like everyone's a bit skeptical that he can man up in space. But I don't think he's going to be available. I think Charlotte's going to take him right in front. So that's why I think Usman Garuba, he's one of the best defenders in Europe and really just one of the best defenders in this draft. And he profiles as a potential all defensive team guy in the NBA by the time he's 25. He can defend on the interior with terrific fundamentals for verticality and weak side shot blocking. His ability to slide his feet, drop his hips laterally is so ridiculous, and his instincts as a pick and roll defender are terrific. I'm losing my ability to speak right now. The problems come on offense. He's still not particularly an effective player on that end, but there's still signs of progress. He has been making more and more threes recently, but it's going to take some time, and he can also pass the ball out of short rolls a bit, but he's not totally afraid to put the ball on the deck. So, yeah, there's Jakob Poeltl, but imagine two of these guys right next to each other. That would be really cool. Usman Garuba coming off the bench. And if you guys aren't fully committed, like do a 2-year deal with Poeltl. And if you're not committed, then trade him after this year and go fully commit with Garuba, and he's on a cheaper deal for the following 3 years. Now, another guy, Corey Kispert. I've told you guys, shot 53% from the field this year, 44 from 3, while averaging 19 points for the nearly undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs. He's probably the best shooter in this year's class. He's going to be able to shoot the hell out of the ball. He's going to make elite decisions. People have compared him to Joe Harris, who has led the 3-point percentage in 2 of the last 3 seasons. And the questions on defense, as Kispert isn't the quickest feet, but he has the confidence that showed that he was the leader of the Gonzaga team, and he's an elite character kid who will keep working and should stick as a very high-level role player. And, the Spurs haven't had reliable shooting or, shooting since Davis Bertans was there, and it would just give them even more depth on the wing. It would just be a home run for a team that's trying to compete as soon as next season, given that Kispert profiles as someone who should be able to come in and play immediately. This is a guy who, if we're sitting here, we're just going to be like, hey, if I was on, I think this would be the most ideal. So, I want to hear your guys' opinion. Who will the San Antonio Spurs be drafting? Well, that's it for me today, guys. But peace out.